Hello everyone, how are you? In this video, we are going to focus on the second tone group, the high drop. So now, let's examine its pitch features. As you can see in the diagram, the high drop has a high falling nucleus. What does it mean? It means that we fall from a very high pitch towards a very low pitch. Let's have a look at the example. He doesn't really know the answer. As you can see, the nucleus is no, and the intonation is high falling. No, no. With the low drop, it would sound no, no. So let's have a look at the same utterance pronounced with the high drop. He doesn't really know the answer. And now with the low drop, he doesn't really know the answer. So as you can see, the difference between the high drop and the low drop, that is high falling intonation and low falling intonation, is very perceptible. In this second slide, we have the definitions of some basic concepts. So this is useful for you to follow the explanations and study this approach. Now, yes, let's examine the attitudes of the high drop for every type of utterance. As I said before, this approach is a grammar approach to intonation. What does it mean? It means that it relates attitudes and grammatical utterances. And it will be the same for every tone group we deal with until the very end of the year. So let's begin with statements. They convey a sense of involvement. They sound light and airy. Here you have a few examples. Between square brackets, there's always the verbal context. I owe you an apology. I should think so indeed. Which would you like, tea or coffee? I'd prefer tea. Why didn't you play? I couldn't find my racket. So as you can see, we fall towards the end. The intonation is high falling, you sound light, airy, and at the same time, because it is falling intonation, you sound definite and complete. This is a characteristic shared by all falling tone groups, not just the high drop or the low drop. WH questions. The attitude is brisk, businesslike, considerate, not unfriendly. That is, whenever the nucleus falls on a word which is not the WH. If the nucleus falls on the WH, you sound lively, interested. So let's have a look at the examples. What was that you said? Where did you go for your summer holiday? I saw the Queen yesterday. Where? I've just seen the new musical. What's it called? So as you can see, we fall. Typical intonation for WH questions. Businesslike, friendly, brisk. Yes, no questions. The same as with the low drop, it means that the question is a topic for discussion or a suggestion, a theory suggestion. The only difference is that the high drop sounds less urgent and less serious than the low drop. So let's have a look at the examples. It's not good asking Brown. Well, would John be a better choice? We may get there in time. Is it likely though? That one sounds skeptical, as if you are in doubt about what you're saying. Okay, and you can also use it in independent comments, which sound mildly surprised. For example, they both passed the exam. Did they? Did they? Okay, so it's just a comment showing mild surprise, as if it were a mild exclamation. not a very strong exclamation. Commands. Whenever you use the high drop on a command, you sound as if you're suggesting a course of action, but you do not expect the other one to obey you. And this is a very important difference between this tone group and the low drop. When you use the low drop, you're in a position of authority. So you expect the other person to do as you tell him or her. But in this case, you're not in a strong position of authority. So the other one might do what you tell him or her to do or not. You're just suggesting a course of action. Let's have a look at the examples. He doesn't want to play. Then make him. What does Jaguar look like? Have a look at my car. Then you'll know. I hope I'm not disturbing you. Come in. Suggesting courses of action. And last but not least, we have interjections. Interjections sound mildly surprised. For example, perhaps I'll take a week off. Good idea. Smith sprained his ankle. Poor old chap. Is that you, Paul? Good morning. Okay, this one sounds a bit surprised, a bit serious. Okay, remember that typically for greetings, we use rising intonation, which we're going to study later on. At the end of this presentation, I have included some exercises for you to mark intonation. So basically, you have the utterance and the attitude between brackets. You have to mark the intonation as required or necessary. And in task number 2, you have the intonation. What you should provide is the attitude. Later on, I'm going to pass the answers to you so that you can correct your own work. Now, I'm going to pause this recording for a few minutes because I want to show you, the book we're going to use this year, Intonation of Colloquial English. Now, yes, guys, we can continue with the recording. This is the book I told you about, Intonation of Colloquial English. It is included in the folder for the subject. Right now, I'm in the drills section, the one corresponding to the high drop. This is page 125 of the book, 134 of the PDF. At the beginning of the section, you've got a summary of the main attitudes provided by the tone group, and you've got a very long list of drills. Some of them are recorded, some of them are not. To know if the drill is recorded, it should have this bullet point, this circle next to it. Those are the ones you'll find in the recording and the ones you should be preparing as a prepared reading for the following week. They're all included in the audio file I have already passed to you. So your assignment is to listen to the recording and to record yourselves reciting them. This is necessary, people. This exposure is necessary for you to distinguish between the high drop and the low drop. So please listen to them with enough time and practice them carefully before recording yourselves. Basically, this is it for today's lesson. What I'd like you to do is to listen once again to the high drop and then to listen to the low drop so as to become aware of the differences and record yourselves. Next week, we'll be having a more practical lesson in which we'll be doing more exercises, particularly dictation, so as to notice the difference between high drop and low drop. Later on, we'll start with the rising tones, okay? So take your time to become exposed to the tone groups and to practice. Thank you very much for listening to me. This is the end of this presentation. Any questions you may have, you know that you can contact me by email, in the classroom, you know. So thanks a lot. Goodbye and have a nice weekend.